When you fail to analyze what went wrong and how you could actually improve, you deny yourself that window of where all that learning happens. A guaranteed way of not getting better or stunting your progression is by not looking at your work with a curious or a scientific mind. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on anything related to do with freehand drawings and developing your style into expressive loose portraits. I'm getting better at that. Obviously, it can feel super disheartening when you pour all of your time, effort, and focus into a drawing and it not go the way that you actually want it to. But we need to remember that when we feel like that, it's just because we care. The worst thing that we can do at that point, though, is just to dismiss it without actually having any kind of reflection on the piece itself. What specific aspects of the drawing didn't go to plan? What specific elements of the drawing didn't work out the way that you actually wanted it to? We need to ask those questions because that's where all the learning happens. That's our window to gain that extra knowledge and information that we can take with us into our next drawing. I did a drawing that I wasn't completely happy with. I didn't hate it, but at the same time, it didn't really tick the boxes that I wanted. Now, even though I had the likeness of the subject, it still didn't quite tick the boxes of how I wanted it to look in terms of the overall look and style. I would actually argue I took away more from it than had it turned out perfect for a couple of reasons. First, I now had that valuable insight and experience that I can take with me into my next drawing. And second, I was stepping outside of my know-how and experimenting with the piece. And when you venture into an area just outside of your comfort zone and just outside of your know-how, that's the area where your work actually starts to evolve. If you practice what you know, your work will improve. If you practice what you don't know, your work will evolve. Now, experimenting with your work doesn't give you immediate success. I mean, sometimes it does. Sometimes it actually works out and you're like, oh my God, I feel like I've just leveled up in my drawing. But the majority of the time, what it does is it just gives us that small growth that we want. Now, if you find yourself at the stage where you are focusing solely on just achieving the likeness with proportions of values before you actually start exploring more into an expressive and fluid style, what I'm talking about right now still actually applies. I would recommend getting good at the fundamentals first before trying to implement other elements, because it can be overwhelming and actually lead to confusion rather than progression. So for instance, I used to only be able to draw using the grid method. However, I got tired of not having a style and not having that capability and freedom to draw whenever or wherever I wanted, without actually having this whole setup with rulers and gridding and all of this work beforehand. So I learned how to draw completely by freehand first, and I did lots of it before I was comfortable and confident doing it. Then I explored suggestion and implied forms, and then I started to incorporate more expressive compositions. And again, I will be doing lots of them as well. And I will do some that I really like, and there'll be some that they don't quite do it for me. And that's okay, that's part of it. As mentioned, we don't want to create a perfect drawing every single time because that's just unrealistic. We just want to gain some kind of valuable insight and experience that we can take with us into our next drawing. We want progression, not perfection. Through every single part and phase that I went through, the pieces I didn't like or the pieces that didn't work out, and I asked myself, what specifically do I not like about it? Where specifically do I think it didn't go to plan? Why? What would I do differently next time? What did I experience when I did this? And how did it react when I did that? And the same even when a piece does go right. What did I do that made that happen? What did I focus on in the process? By setting clear goals for each drawing, you create a benchmark to be able to evaluate your work. I always encourage my students to reflect on the drawings that they send in to me. By practicing this reflection within our work, not only allows us to celebrate the success of the drawing, but it also allows us to identify the struggles and also create constructive and conscious pathways for improvement next time. If you are ready to take your drawing seriously and you actually want a guided mentorship and want to know more about my program so you can reach your drawing goals of mastering proportions and expressive portraits, I'll leave a link in the description to book a call so we can create a roadmap specifically for you. Now, there's no luck when it comes to drawing. If you have a showcase piece that you're proud of, and then you also have a handful of pieces that maybe not so much, that doesn't actually mean that those showcase pieces were luck. You don't just magically create placement, structure, and values all in the right order to create someone's likeness. That's just not how it works. Like, it's not luck when you do that. You might think you didn't know how you did that, but you do, because it's right there in front of you. You just haven't recognized what you have done. So by having a reflective practice, replaying that successful drawing in your mind, you engage with your process a lot more. So when you look back at those pieces, truly ask yourself, play it back in your mind. What did you start with? Where was your focus? What specifically did you do? And why did you go the route that you did? What did the portrait have that led you from one area to another? At what point and where in the drawing did you start to actually understand where it was going and why? If you have already done it, it means you can do it again. You just need to ask yourself those specific questions and then approach it again with that new understanding to test it out. Not every drawing follows the same process, but every drawing has its own process. Just because you started with the eyes and then the nose and then the mouth in that portrait doesn't actually mean that that's the case when you come to do the other portrait. Sometimes the other portrait, it's actually easier to start with your widest points and then work your way in. It really depends on the portrait and the reference photo itself. It's great going by emotion and being connected to your drawing because that really helps with actually capturing the essence of the portrait. However, going by just emotion and thinking because you are connected to the piece is the reason why the drawing came together the way it did, I just don't think is true. I'm all about being connected to the drawing. I love it. There's not a better feeling. However, I also look at it with a scientific mind because I also need to know how and why something went right and also wrong, so I know what to take with me and also what not to take with me into my next drawing. So next time you do a drawing and you feel like you're a bit defeated because it hasn't gone to plan, feel those feelings again because it just means that you care, but also look at it with a scientific mind too. Where do you think it went wrong? Not just saying the eye is off, but what specifically is it about the eye that makes you think it's off? In correlation to what? The structure, the values, the placement? Is it off? Or is it actually the surrounding areas that's making it look off? There's a difference between the eye is off and also the value in between the eye and the eyebrow is actually lighter, which makes that area look bigger, which then makes that eye look like it's slightly out of place. You see how much more specific you can be with it? By just saying the eye is off is like saying my coffee is off. In what way? Is it too hot? Is it too cold? Is it too sweet? What is it about the coffee that is off? We want to apply it with our drawing as well. We want to be as specific as possible because the more specific we are, the more we have with us that we can take into our next drawing. So the piece that I wasn't originally happy with, even though initially I was bummed out, I knew I could still gain something valuable in terms of experience and how to approach it differently next time. And I applied it into this drawing, which for me ticks all the boxes in terms of style, of it being loose and expressive. And it's something that I'm going to continue to explore within my next drawings as well. There's always room for improvement. There's an unlimited amount of pathways that you can go down when you are drawing. And that's the beauty of it. You're never finished. You can just keep going, which is why I love drawing, which is why I continue to do it after 25 years. And I would absolutely love to work with you as well. If you really want to take your work seriously and you want to have that guided mentorship, as I say, I'll leave a link in the description so you can book a call. We can discuss everything and create a roadmap specifically for you so you can reach your drawing goals. I appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one.